this isn't going to be a fix video, but it's going to be interesting just to see what's going on inside this here high beam switch for your car. This is a component that mounts to your steering wheel, your steering column in the car, and here or here, wherever I decide to put it, is a picture of the car that this was in. And when he flipped on the high beams, high or low beams, I think it was the high beam, the left side, the driver's side, the high beam didn't come on. And when you had it on the low beams, you could shake the low beam connector on here and all the lights would cut out. So I just figured I'd set this up, let you see what was going on, and then we'd tear into this just to try to figure out what's shorted or what's broke on the inside of it. You know, just something cool to look at, just to check out in case you have the same problem. You could know what to change. But I have a power supply set up. I just got it set up for just to power these light bulbs right here. I got 2 light bulbs connected to this. One representing like the high beams, and the other one representing the low beams. I only have 8 volts running to it. I turn my power supply on. This is on my meter. You can see I got 8 volts there. And let's say I got my high beams on right now. Okay. And then when you flip your high beam switch or your low beam up on your steering column there, it pushes this green button in and it switches down to your low beams. So that's how it changes between your high beams and your low beams. Okay, seems like it works fine, right? Well, when it's on the low beam, now you've just seen what happens. Okay, that goes out, and the reason is because this connector right here has a short in it. See that? I can move that around and make it connect, make it disconnect. So that's why we had to replace this, because it was faulty. So that's not a good thing to have going down the road, and every bump you hit, your lights are flashing on and off like that, right? So we replaced it, problem solved. But I wanted to tear this apart to see what's inside this thing that's making this thing not work, unless this rivet right here just got so loose that it's just not making a connection anymore. Which it could be, you never know. But this has already been replaced, so this one's junk, so why not just tear it apart and see what's going on in there. Alright, so let's do that. Well, that wasn't too bad. Oops. I just flung it all over the place. Well, there's a spring that popped out. See if we can figure out where that goes. We'll zoom down here a little bit and see if we can look at this together here. Alright, so this rivet came out of here, out of this side. This was on here like that, I guess. So we don't need this anymore. Don't need the rivet, we got that. Let's see, this thing was, I'm sure that spring right there went right here. Because there is, let me get a pointer. If you look right here, you got an indent right here. And if you look down in here, there's an indent in there. if you look at both ends of this screw, you got a wire going down the middle there and a wire going down the middle there. So that spring, my guess is, goes between both of those, and it is used as a rocker type thing here. Let me get this other rivet out of here. So I'm sure they probably put it together like this, and then like this, and then put the rivets in there to hold it together. But since it's out, we don't really care. So we got that. Let's clean these contacts up here a little bit so we can see what else is going on here. It's a little dirty. Yeah, now we can kind of see what was going on the inside there. See, we'll clean this top here a little bit. There's a contact. There's a contact. That one's about as dirty as we can get it, huh? Yeah, definitely pretty dirty inside this switch. So I guess it was time to change it, huh? Alright, we can get the gist of how it works now. So we got our main in right here, the big long one. So that's this one here, both contacts on this one. And then we have our low beams, the one that moves all around, and our high beam, the one that's steady. So we shake our low beam. If we move our low beam one, you can see it right here. If I get it just right, you can see that moving all around like that, and you can see where it would lose its connection because there is a wore out section on that's at an angle that I can see. I'll have to take a picture and put it up there, give you guys a closer look at that. But that would be the reason why it's not getting the connection on these parts down here. So one way or the other, one of these is always going to be on one of these contacts, which is the main contact. Okay, so with it sitting like this one would be on the main contact, let's say, and this one would be on this back contact, let's say. Okay, so that would be the high beams, let's say. So now if we pop this in to change the direction, it would push this in like this and push this side out like that. So now this side is on this connection, and now this side is on this one, which is the low beam, which is the loose one that had the bad connection, which is on here. So that's all that does, is just rock back and forth like that when you push this spring back and forth like that. We can take this out. So that's pretty basic. Let's see how this comes out. Oh, there we go. Let's see. So all that is a little pin that comes out of there. Little spring loaded, pops right back into the center. When you hit it, pops right back into the center. It's got some indents here. Rides down into an indent, up on the plastic, up higher, and then down again, and then up. So that makes sure it centers it, pushes it one way or the other. Spring loaded there. Nifty, nifty. So I guess if you really had to, you could fix this and put it back together. You could probably maybe sand that down flat, or I mean, this piece is only $17, $18 brand new. I think you can get them, or even cheaper than that, $15 maybe. So why go through the work? But you know, if you're a do-it-yourselfer and you just don't mind tearing stuff apart like this, there you go. But that's all it is. We're not going to fix it. We're going to toss it. But we just wanted to see what was going on the inside and what was failing on it. And now we know. It was just the rivet that holds this one in there just loosened up and was not getting a good connection anymore. So there you go. Before we go here, I was looking at this switch a little bit closer, and this is pretty interesting. If you take a look at this little lever that I showed you in here that moves back and forth, it's that little shiny piece right there. If you watch how that works with this piece here, how it tips it back and forth like that, that is pretty interesting. There's actually detents in the bottom of this thing here. There's 4 detents, 1, 2, 3, 4. I'll show you afterwards that this thing locks into. But this little plunger thing that turns this is actually pretty nifty. I got this rubber band over here to try to hold that down here to help this. But take a look at that as that works. Watch that little shaft that comes in here, how that works as I push this. See how it pushes it to the side to turn it, and then it comes back out straight, and then when it pushes back in, it goes the other direction to push it the other direction. Then it comes back out, straightens out. Now it goes back in there again, but it forces it to the opposite direction. It just keeps going back and forth, and that is how it goes back and forth between the high and the low. That is pretty nifty. My rubber band's falling off, but you can see how that works. That is nifty, how they designed that. And this is how, I'll take the rubber band off now and show you here. I got the camera zoomed way in for this. And this is how what that looks like when it goes in there. So it goes into those 2 little spots there. So it comes in straight towards the middle, and it'll force it one way so it's crooked, and then it's straight again, but it's crooked enough to where the next time that goes in straight, it actually is going in this one, so it actually forces it back over into the opposite direction to be like this, and then it comes back out straight again, and now it's ready to come back in. It goes in the opposite one. So that's what keeps it going back and forth. It just keeps jumping from one hole to the other. When it comes back out, the other hole is ready to for it to get put back in there. Sorry if I can't keep this in the middle there, but it just keeps jumping from one to the other like that, and that's how it switches back and forth. And those are the little balls on the end there that sit down in these little detents that you can see right down here. If I get my hands out of the way. You got two on this side and you got two on this side here. And then of course, I showed you before, this little thing that just wiggles back and forth there. That is pretty interesting. Interesting indeed. Alright, see you on the next one.